Hey,
How are you doing?
I'm doing quite well. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Tonight we have an amazing guest. It is a dear friend of mine. His name is James Annitto. He is an author, a podcaster, as well as a demonologist, and has been on investigations before. And fun fact, I went to Romania with him for 16 days with a group of people.
That's
It was pretty
wild.
cool. Yeah,
That is pretty wild.
it
See any demons?
is. What?
I said, did you see any demons?
No.
Kidding. Sorry. Bad joke.
Oh, that's so funny.
I'm fighting a cold. My wit is not where it should be. I'm sorry.
Well, let's go ahead and bring James on up, and I'm gonna adjust my lighting here. Okay.
Welcome.
Hey.
Hey guys, how you guys doing tonight?
Doing well. How are you?
Hey, can't complain. Just here with you guys and gonna have a good time.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you been getting a lot of snow where you're at?
Oh man, why'd you have to bring that up again? Yes, uh, a mess ton.
1 metric
Yeah.
fuck ton.
Yes, a cocaine man addict stream out there, all that white stuff.
I
Oh
am
boy.
completely done with this weather. Like spring needs to come now.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, we put the clocks ahead this Saturday, this Sunday. Sorry,
Uh,
so that's getting closer. We lose sleep, but hey, that means it's getting closer to spring, right?
you know what? I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take an hour's worth of less sleep if that means spring is on the way. Like, I'm okay with that.
Hell yeah.
So we know, well, I know a decent amount about you, but Christopher doesn't. So I'm going to let him start with a question or two and then I'll chime in.
All right. So, James, you and I met, I don't know if you remember this, but at Parafest, Maine, in Vassalboro, Maine, many years ago now. Um, you were pretty established when I met you, but I'm just kind of curious, what came first for you? The demonology, your clergy, paranormal investigating? Like, where did that all start for you?
Yeah, so it's interesting question because I'd say the faith and demonology came together, but of course my interest in the unknown or theological questions I had kind of was the trunk for those many branches because it was my childhood trauma that got me kind of interested in the idea of God. And of course, when you go down that rabbit hole, it just uh, develops into so many different questions and different pathways that, kind of allured me to looking into and reading about when I was a child. So, the three kind of fold in together. But basically I got involved investigating the paranormal because of the shows and of course of my exploration through literature. And so when the shows came out and then Ghost Hunters came out, it kind of gave me like that light bulb in the head that okay, people do this really, and this is proof, just not like scariest place on earth or most haunted in the UK and the other amount of shows before that that are classics. But so I at 14 on almost 15 years old, like a month or two before my birthday, of being 15, me and a group of friends went out to a place that is local to us that maybe you aren't supposed to go into, but it's no longer there. It's tore down, and we decided to see what the lores and legends of this place many people talked about and their experiences, and then it went into graveyards and all that stuff. So from that point on, it just kind of bred a light in me that eventually I really understood and brought together when I had this religious experience in the military, and I went from not being a believer in like a faith or God or being Christian, which I am, but I went from not having no faith to having a faith in a complete millisecond. And so at that point, when I became a civilian again, the civvy duties of just living normal life, I got involved with local ministry, um, and then eventually worked my way through that. But in that same token, I started working with a demonologist named Carl Johnson as a tech manager of their group Beyond the Veil Paranormal many moons ago. So it all worked together to became to who I am today. So each one had an equal interest. The faith was the most dominant, but they all bleed together in some form or fashion.
Sure. Nice.
So,
That's cool.
what would you say is the difference? Actually, let's word this differently. Explain what a demonologist is for those who don't understand.
Yeah, so in layman's terms, a demonologist is somebody that studies the cultural traditions and the lore of wicked spirits. If you look at the definition of demon, it says evil spirit. Then you have examples like fallen angel. So basically, a demonologist will study cultures, traditions, beliefs, mythologies, folklore, and look out how it's developed throughout time, how they can apply it based on their faith, which most faiths have kind of the idea of good versus evil, a theodicy. And so, you apply that research from that perspective or multiple perspectives, and you assess it in a physical sense. So there's two forms of demonology, in my opinion. There's the academic version of it where you just study, right? You just read books, you maybe write papers on it, essays, dissertations, books. And then there's the demonologist that applies all those studies, and it's practical. It's you actually do it, and you observe cases that are quantified or qualified or thought to be demonic or an evil spirit involved. So that's what demonology is. It's a very tedious study, but also a very tedious practical approach as well. Excuse
I
me.
didn't know there was actually two different versions of that. It's kind of interesting to find that out.
Well, yeah. Well, some people are just academics. Like there are theologians out there that are fascinated in demonology, have written, a lot of, not the greatest time, but during scholasticism, during the medieval ages, where philosophy really kind of bred and kind of started creating the sciences as we know it today. Um, it was very popular academic. There are people that applied it, such as the witch hunters during the witch craze of the Inquisition, but and post as well in modern times. But you could you could just study it or actually take that study as well and then try to discern cases in real time.
So I'm kind of curious to pick your brain as a clergyman, as somebody who is a theologian yourself, right? You would describe yourself as a theologian, right? Or no?
Yeah, so I am no longer clergy. Like I stepped away from the
Oh, you
old
did.
Catholic Church. Yeah, so I was ordained in the Church of Christ as a deliverance minister, but um, and then I transitioned and converted to Catholicism quite a while now. I did go through a process with them where I became a deacon, but I stepped away. Two differences, and um, just thought at the end of the day, it wasn't just differences. It was that I didn't think that was the right path. That's not what
Sure.
the what I learned in the formation of it um, it taught me a lot.
Yeah.
And it applied something in my life that at least I tried, and in some shortcut of a way to go with that, because the program that I went through is inherently different than like a Roman Catholic priest who has to go through 10 years of school formation, and that's not how what the part of the puzzle I was a part of in the whole Catholic umbrella wasn't like. And I don't know, but I tried it. I still always say I am an understanding of my faith as a Christian, but I'm also very eclectic too. So right, so um, I just want to clarify to people I am not a clergy member, but
Okay, yeah. No, thank you for that clarification because other people might have made the same mistake that I just did. So I'm glad you clarified that. I can definitely relate on that level. I have the title of independent spiritualist minister, but I have
yep.
absolutely stepped away from the church kind of setting just because that's, like you said, it's not really the path that I want to go down. I still value and appreciate everything that was taught to me and the values that are there, but I can relate on that level. But I do have a question as a man who, you said you're a Christian man, right?
I am. Yep.
Okay, so on that level, I have a question.
Yep.
In the Bible, it talks about how, there's some people that believe that mediums are discounted in the Bible, but also in the Bible, there's the story of Saul and Solomon, right? They seek
Yeah.
a medium, right? So my understanding is that as long as you don't take a medium's word over the word of God, it's okay. Is that correct?
Well, I think it's, to not get into biblical scripture too much.
I'm sorry, it might have been a loaded question.
No, it is a loaded question, but it's also a hot subject too because there's different interpretations, translations,
Sure.
how people look at certain verses. What's the context before and what's the context after? Like one thing I
So on a
see
very
about
base level,
yeah, like what I will say on my self opinion because I got
Right.
to speak for myself before I unravel a bunch of worms. Um, because religion, there's a couple things I've learned to understand doing this. Is politics no go, religion's a no go, and
Yep.
pictures of orbs are no go. But
That's great. Yeah.
but I will say is in it. I'm a believe it to kind of see it to kind of guy. Like any medium that I've ever worked with involved in cases, I've rigorously tested on normal situations, on easier cases that might not be that sense of evil. And I've been astonished by a handful of people, not many. Like you two, I know Raven, I know you, Chris. I know you guys have your abilities, and I respect them. I've seen Raven work. I've seen in some way passing of experiences, and other people know how you work, Chris. And I say that very, very with a very big thumbs up for both of you. But so I test the mediums I work with, and unfortunately, as we know, I believe everybody to, or even as you guys know, I believe that everybody to have an ability to some extent. It just sometimes it's more adapted. Some people are more keen in certain senses, so I can't discount that everybody has it. I think some people over enamor it, overutilize it, or even lie about what the capabilities are, even though they might have minimalistics of it. So I'm very cautious on who I bring with my cases. So I do use mediums, and that's what I can speak for. But once again, is I think you made a powerful statement where I can agree with is yes, you can get the word from a medium, and this is what the medium's feeling is, but it's never oversteps God's word, right? And I think that's where I think in some ability that people do take the word of a medium over God a lot of the times. Because a lot of the times it's grief, right? It's pain, it's trauma, and so people get wrapped up in confusion of what ladder it should be, right? Never discount the medium because that message is maybe what you need, but also, if God gives you a message, which one are you going to relate to more? And that's where I would, God's everything, right? And so I'm not trying to be preachy here for your listeners, but that's what my perspective of it is. But I work with mediums, not to over stimulate on this specific question, but I think it's an important piece of the puzzle when you're doing these cases and how it can validate the data you collected, the observations you might have had with just your physical eye or in your physical ears.
That's a beautiful answer, man. I think that was really, really a great answer. And it's funny. I was recently talking to somebody that told me, they said, look, talk to 5 different mediums. And if all 5 of them say the exact same thing, then that's more or less the higher power coming through and giving you a
Yeah.
sign that that's the path you're on. You know what I mean? Just a
No,
fascinating kind of thing.
I totally get it. I'm gonna do something weird in a sec because I'm super cool. I'm gonna put a sweatshirt on. Give me a second.
You guys got 1,000 pounds of snow, so I don't blame you.
I mean, I gotta say, like, as James is putting a sweater on, I mean, it makes sense,
I can hear you now.
it makes sense to ask questions of mediums, because there are mediums that are out there that are going to say that everything is demonic, and there are going to be
Yeah.
mediums out there who say all kinds of things. And if
Yeah.
and I would say it's our responsibility as mediums to understand we're dealing with people who are
Yeah.
dealing with grief, who are dealing with all kinds of different things. It could be trauma, it could be a combination of things. And so it's a huge responsibility to be able to see, to be able to decipher whether somebody is being a scam artist or not. So it makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. And I don't mean
Yeah.
to bring up such a hot button topic. I just very selfishly am curious about your thoughts on that. You know what I mean?
No, hey, it's a great question. Yes, definitely a hot question to answer, and whatever answer you say, people are gonna
Oh,
disagree with
sure.
it or not.
Sure, sure.
But in the same retrospect of mediums, thinking everything's demons. I've met demonologists, and I ain't gonna call or shoot fire at. I respect them immensely, and they have knowledge, and you have to respect that because they experienced it. But I know demonologists that might think everything's a demon that they come
Mm.
across, but there's also people that have been in the field of demonology that have taken advantage of people as well. So it's everywhere. It's not just
Mhm.
mediums and psychics, and
Sure.
it's demonology, paranormal investigators, how doctors, electricians, freaking the list can go on and on of people that um uh
Musicians, I mean, Jesus
yeah.
Christ.
Yeah, true. So it's everybody. So we can't just pinpoint it to one sector of humanity, right? Because that's
Very
not
true.
right. But you definitely, anybody you have to use, you have to test them. So at the end of the day, it's like I do that because I don't want to disregard anybody, but I also need to know if they're capable of being not biased when they're going in. And every medium that ever worked on a case didn't know where they were going. I picked them up, and we're going here, so they couldn't learn the history beforehand, and believe that their abilities are working. I'm rigorous when it comes to it, especially when it's true cases. Nothing known about the client. You go in there. The first thing before I do my assessment and my interview is I tell the clients, please, when we get there, do not say anything. And I let this person go through, and of course, I have them write notebooks of their visions or what they are beliefs talking to them, or what resonance they're getting in the environment that they can pick up. And I let her write it down, and I read it, and before I blur anything out, I remember my case file with all the questions and where the hot spots are, and I look at, okay, the bedroom. Okay, they complain about the bedroom being scratched, this, that. They had feelings of assault in the bedroom, or even an upstate, a weird place. Most people would not think, like a garage or the bathroom, right? Um, so like I cross reference, and you know there's in that sense there's no way to really fit that, because how are you going to fit that? And there's I worked with this lady Mandy for a long time, and man, she was the craziest person ever, and I think most most people in this field are crazy, including myself. But she was the craziest person, biggest sweetheart, but man, she blew me away. And the things that she did really kind of made me believe people could do what people claim.
Cool.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, James, in the different cases or places that you've been to, where have you noticed that you've had to use the knowledge that you have studied when it comes to demonology in those locations?
A lot of them, because a lot of them have a lore of an evil spirit, be they a demon. It's the newer thing that everything's a demon at these places, as a form of a attraction for the thrill seekers that for some reason want to believe they want to experience a true demonic entity. But most places, I've always had to use my experience, because somebody might get scratched, and they're like, "Oh my God, it's evil spirit." And then you have to kind of break it to them. Well, it depends on what context the scratches were. Like, were you asking questions, and maybe that they couldn't verbalize through your communicative equipment. Maybe so a scratch was their means of getting your attention, saying, "I'm here." Or did you hear a scream, and did you think it was evil because it was a scream and it horrified you and it made you intense? So you jump to the worst case scenario. So a lot of the places that I've investigated, either publicly, privately, I've had to kick it in. And plus, to apply demonology, I really think that you have to be a very avid investigator, but researcher, and as well an interviewer, because and those are all applied applications of what you do just in the normal paranormal investigation, beside maybe the interview, unless you want to interview the the tour guide of the facility or something, and get their experiences and see if you can match them to maybe the experiences that you have throughout the night. But yeah, demonology is multifaceted, but I think it applies throughout across the board in any avenue of the paranormal.
Now, you've written 2 books. Can you tell us a little bit about the books that you've created?
Yeah, so one right here. Oh my God, I hate this little fuzzy thing. Let me just take it off for a second. Sorry, guys.
No worries.
I have like a Oh, that's why when I came back in. I have a kind of a messy room right now. I have the psychological dimensions of the paranormal. The reason I wrote that first book is because I have an equal love of psychology. If you remember the hint of the story at the beginning of where I said I had childhood trauma, so psychology has always been fascinating to me, and the development of social science, because of what I went through. Why would somebody do what they did to me? So psychology has been equal love, and there are. And for people that don't know, I have my bachelor's in psychology. Currently, working on my master's, which has been a feat with my busy life. But so I wrote the book because initially it was to be my dissertation paper, right? I am currently doing research through SNHU, which I've kind of faltered on lately because of how busy I've been. But I have a real study going on. It's not at the population pool that I deem necessary, and not also balanced in gender. So, it's kind of on standstill until I can figure out a better way to get that out. But initially, the book was to be my dissertation paper, which it still could be in some regards of how I wrote it. Um, and I wanted to um, include that data and have it as a book for people that were fascinated in the realms of psychology and the paranormal, because in psychology you have parapsychology, which some people are respected, and sometimes it's also been kind of become a circus itself. But you have that, and you also have anomalous psychology, which is Chris French. Parapsychology looks at the paranormal in that circumstance, while anomalous psychology looks at the natural out of that occurrence. Why did that occurrence happen? And what was the natural explanation to it? So in those categories of psychology, you have books on it. There are research papers, but it's not approachable to the average reader. And most people in the paranormal field don't actually have any correlation of knowledge that those exist in those form of fashions, unless they really deep dive and want to read those books. And sometimes they're large tomes, sometimes they're kind of methodology based research papers, and they aren't the best reads ever if you're not into that stuff. So I wrote a book that was accessible towards that avenue, where it's accessible to the average reader, short enough to digest in maybe a couple sittings. And I wanted to get my love out on it. And also, really, too, when I was in my hiatus, where I disappeared for 8 months, which is natural for me, I go into hibernation for self-reflection and accomplishing things in my personal strides. And when I said, okay, well, I don't have this to do, and who knows if I ever get back in the paranormal, I said, I just want to write a book. I've been wanting to write a book for a long time. People have told me to write a book for a long time. I was working on a book a long time ago with a ghostwriter. Um, and it all just fell through, and I just said, okay, maybe this is never for me. And the dissertation paper and school and I just said, well, let me work on my dissertation sooner than later. And it's and it really just turned into the idea of, okay, well, it takes me out of my comfort zone. Everybody expects me to write about demonology, which I did, but everybody expects me to write something about that. And I said, let me write something that takes me out of my comfort zone, something that I am versed in, but people don't know me for it, and sometimes I don't know myself for it. And so I wrote the book, and it's what made burnt the fire in me to write the second book. And I basically wrote them at the same time, here or there, more so focused on the first one while putting the second one together. And so the first one came out on Halloween, while the second one, which is right here, The History of Demonology, will come out Good Friday, April 3rd. And the whole point of it releasing on April 3rd, which is Good Friday, is because that's when Jesus died. And um, the high, not to get in a hyperbole here, uh, uh, but Jesus resurrected in, of course, biblical scripture and through testimonies. But I thought it was a day of remembrance of when I kind of died and had to find myself, and resurrected through these books and gave me that fire again, and gave me that will to keep going and get better and do the right things. And so that's why I want to release that on Good Friday, because it has a sentiment to it that it's my it's me rising. I'm not saying my books are similar to Jesus at all, because that's definitely not the case, but it means a lot to me. And I definitely am interested. I anticipate people getting the second book. It's not going to be what they expect, but it's what I felt like needed to be out there.
Very cool. I'm happy and I'm proud of you for coming back, my friend. It's good to have you.
Thank you.
Curious about a psychological question now that we're on the subject of psychology, because it's definitely a subject I'm interested in as well.
Yeah.
Kind of ties into a little bit of demonology as well. But, again, I can only speak from what I know in my experience, right? But I'm curious to pick your brain about, in my opinion, it takes somebody maybe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that is more weak of mind to be truly possessed by a demonic entity. If you're a stronger mind, then maybe you wouldn't. Now, is that true or false in your opinion? Would a
Mostly true.
strong-minded person be still possessed by a demonic entity?
Yes, for sure.
Okay, so I'm trying to think of how I would want to word this. I suppose then what is really going on when somebody is truly possessed? If it's not the psychology of somebody, it's not truly how strong or weak their mind is. What is really going on in that moment?
Well, so I say mostly true in the sense that it is mostly the people that are have a tarnished mind, maybe mental health issues, addiction. Those people tend to be targeted more, but there have been cases where people of faith have been targeted by demons, oppressed,
Mhm.
maybe slightly controlled by them. But it's a rare occurrence compared to the fact that people of
Mm.
certain mindset or certain background might be targeted more so than other people. But one of the things that I talk about that kind of give data and some credence to that statement is that all my cases that I would quantify as demonic, trauma was one of the base roots of why it was occurring, and why
Mhm.
maybe that it entered in their life, why it targeted that certain person, because of that trauma. And it's still relished in their life, right? They might have put it in the back of their mind, but it was still there. They never overcame that and healed. So that was the chink in their armor. And that is the process that I have seen and noticed in my time of doing this. Is there was a correlation between to each every single one of those was the trauma. What level of trauma? Those were different, of course, but it was still trauma that kind of was a segue to a lot of it transpiring, and how it got there. That's the known debate. The people could have said that it was this, and that. Sometimes those conclusions are never founded. You just kind of find of cause and effect to the situation, and then you can't observe and analyze that over and over again, because the best thing you need to do is deliverance or exorcism, to try to relieve that person of that. But in most cases that I have seen, like I said, trauma was prevalent.
Well, thank you for that clarification. I'm like I said, I don't mean to sound ignorant when I ask those questions. It's just because I literally don't know.
No, it's a great question, and I think a lot of people have a misconception on
Sure.
demons and being possessed, and items and stuff like that. So it's it doesn't hurt to talk about it, because it's a true misconception.
Right. I think another misconception might be that, or maybe not a misconception, but I'm just kind of leads me to a different question too. Like, demons are seen, like, especially in like, religious backgrounds. I mean, you hear about demons, angels, you think religion, right? That, at least I do.
Yeah.
Are demons controlled by what, for lack of a better phrase, Satan or a higher power to them? You know what I mean? Or are they their own thing?
So, history of demonology kind of talks about that. It's kind of walks the line like the first book, where it kind of gives you why people might assert demons into their civilization, or angels or gods, and it also states the opposite of why this is it. And so it's really hard to kind of say what a demon is, beside the non-corporeal, which means they would never living beings in the sense of
Sure.
humans,
Mhm.
physical. So it's really hard to pinpoint what they are. If they fell with Satan, or Hasatan in Israel, the accuser. Um, you know, a lot of, especially monotheistic belief systems, have a very similar story. The three are, of course, the Abrahamic religions,
Right.
Judaism, Christianity, Israel, all have very similar stories, but different stories as well. Early Jewish belief, folklore didn't have that good versus evil kind of mantra until like the Second Temple period. But even polytheistic viewpoints too, of mythology and stuff like that, technically it also had a very similar good versus evil uh, point of view as well. So, you know, once again, the idea of an evil spirit or demon has been around in human civilization for 10,000 plus years, since the cradle of civilization, which is known as, Mesopotamia, Acadia, and all that stuff, that area. And they had Lamashtu, Pazuzu, and all that stuff, but they played a uh, Lamashtu was evil, but Pazuzu played, known as the demon, played a duality role. Like, he was good and protected from Lamashtu, killing babies, but he also was the god of pestilence and famine. So, like, it was a little bit different back then, but there was still a battle, right? And
Mhm.
that has transcended till to now, 2026. So it's really hard to say where it actually happened from. Like, Bible will say that, and as a good Christian, I should say, yeah. But as well, have to understand prior history and prior observation and development of religion. But one thing, like I said, demons are evil spirits. I do believe evil spirits exist. Where they come from, you can get into string theory, maybe they're another dimension, some quantum physics right there. But there's many different interpretations you can say of where they possibly came from.
Now, there is a question that came up there, and of course, I have my opinions on this. But
Mm.
Melissa is asking if you believe that humans can become demons.
Um, Once again,
Mm.
the definition of demon is evil spirit. you can be an evil person, die, and technically then you're a spirit, right? And then you're evil. So in reality, you are an evil spirit, which could be considered demonic. But in the stanza that most people use it in the sense is, like I said, a non corporeal thing that never once lived. But once again, if you really want to go through a loophole, once you die and you're no longer in your physical body and your spirit, then you're non-corporeal, right? You're not corporeal anymore. You're not physical. So there's a weird loophole in that where you could say, yes, evil people could become demons because technically they are evil spirits. And like I said, every culture has had some form of demon in it for many, many thousands of years. So it's a really hard one to answer without like getting in a tongue twister. But once again, I wouldn't call an evil person that died and still is evil and still maybe haunts and afflicts demon. It's a choice of word, and I wouldn't use it in that sense.
I would say that in every tradition or belief system, there are different thought processes on that question. And I think it really depends on the individual that you're talking to and what their belief systems are. Um, at least that's my thoughts on it. Personally, I don't think humans become demons. I think that things that are actually demonic do not come from a plane of existence of humanity. I can see dark spirits. I can see, e- evil people making really evil decisions, but for a human to become a demon, it just to me doesn't resonate. But that's just my personal opinion on it. What about yours, Christopher?
I'm kind of under the same thought process. I mean, I feel like if you look at the word demon or angel, I think that an angel is a high vibrational being that has not been incarnate, right? I think that a demon is a lower vibrational entity that has not been incarnate. So for that reason, I would say I don't necessarily believe in that, but I do really like what James said about how the parallels can be there. If somebody was a really bad, nasty person when they were here, they pass in spirit, they become similar. They're a nasty person or whatever, nasty spirit. Maybe they will say things through devices when you're investigating that could allude to them being that kind of an energy, or they might disguise themselves in that fashion because they want to elicit that fear in you like they would when they were still living, if that makes any sense.
Now the question comes up conversely, can humans ascend to that of the ranks of an angel? I think that depends on the belief system.
Yeah,
Mm.
I think so too. You could say maybe your guardian angel was a lost loved one. Technically, they're a guardian angel, right? So,
Mhm.
but once again, that's different. Sometimes guardian angels are already placed with you. Sometimes you guys would call that your spirit guide. There's different opinions or beliefs on that, but yeah, no, I agree. It kind of falls in the same lane as that question.
Nancy's got a good question too here.
Yeah. She's asking, have you ever run into a spirit that tried to represent itself as a demon, like a demon wannabe, if you will?
All the time, yeah.
Mm.
One thing that I hate that we forget is when we talk about spirits, unless it's residual, they're likely intelligent. Um, and so there are people, if I died and somehow I regained my consciousness and I am the person that I am, I'm going to be the first dude that's going to my friend's house and pulling all the toilet paper everywhere. Like they're you got to remember that if spirits are intelligent, um, then yes, they can also puff their chest and believe they're bigger and badder and misrepresent themselves, right? One thing that I tell people on investigations, I hear it all the time. Well, we got these demons named Beelzebub, Asmodeus. And I'm like, well, yeah, those are all the no named ones. It's like I doubt if Asmodeus is there, you're going to be able to stand in their presence and you're going to be able to speak to me right now. So the spirits like to play trickery too. They're tricksters, some of them, not all of them, but it's you got to remember that. You got to remember the intelligence possibly still there in theory, of course, that how we interpret it. But yeah, definitely, I think I've come across it many times, and I think most people come across it a lot of times when they're investigating as well in some of these places. So it's something to always take in, that if it's saying it's a demon, it's likely not a demon.
That's a fair point.
Yeah, I would say that if something is truly,
Nancy just said something funny. I'm sorry, I don't mean to let you go. Oh, so they can just be little shits with an inferiority complex. Dang,
yes,
Yes.
yes.
that is funny and true, right?
I think if something is truly demonic, it's not something that's going to be playing around with small things. It's
Right.
something that builds up. There are stages of things that end up happening before things get really bad, but there are signs ahead of time. And you talk about that in your books as well, don't you, James?
Yeah, so the first one talks more about it. It's kind of broken down into three parts: spirits, demons, and the human mind. And the second, I really do talk about in that form of fashion. But yeah, um, yeah. De- but once again, demons can be translated in many different ways, and it's a touchy subject. So, but I definitely believe that. Um, an echoance of what you're saying is that, yeah, it's depending on culture, depending on religious belief, what a demon is. Um and I think that if people read the second book, they'll have a little bit of better idea of interpretations of it too. And it's not a common thing, right? It does meddle in some of the weirdest peoples of lives, like people you might not think is important. And you're dealing with it, and that's the fascinating part. Why were they chosen? Why are they being meddled with? Why are they being affected? And those are all the questions I really haven't had an answer for, to be honest with you. Beside, I said the cause was the trauma, but but what brought it there? What was the point of it? And I think that's beyond me, right? I don't think we're supposed to understand that necessarily. I think that is a cosmic battle, that or a cosmic understanding that is beyond our comprehension.
Well said. I fully agree with that.
Melissa has a question. Is it more likely for someone to conjure demons and get possessed, or release an entity through a ritual? Again, that goes back to context of what somebody
Yeah.
believes.
Yeah, it also depends on, it depends on, I think, regardless of what belief system are or practitioner you are. I think that if you have the intent to be possessed, then likely it could happen. And if you're looking to release an entity, then I think that's also intent. A lot of that has to start with an intent, and what the practice is, what's your meaning of it. And it's, yeah, like you said, like I think Raven made a good point, but it's all intent based, right? And I think that if you play with fire, you're gonna get burnt eventually, right? Nobody that I've jumped over campfires many times when I was younger, and there was one time I got burnt, and I was like, I never do that again. That hurt. And I think that that's the case, for many of those things.
The way I look at it, it's just my opinion. It's wise to not meddle with things that you have not fully studied or you do not fully understand
Yeah,
to a degree.
yeah,
Well, especially those specific things.
yeah. Hey, like I'm very invested in the interest of demonology, which is basically conjuring or summoning up demons to do bidding. But I'm fascinated in all that stuff. Maybe they're onto something that I'm not. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're right. Who knows? I think, and that, like you said, it's up for interpretation.
It
Right.
is.
So I'm curious, James, on a more personal level. I see you got a Star Wars poster in the back there.
I do. I
As a
am a
Star
big
Wars
Star Wars
fan,
guy.
what is your favorite episode?
Oh, that's a very easy one, and I know it's not a lot of people's favorites, but I'm a Phantom Menace guy
Oh
because
shit! Okay.
I love Darth Maul. I think they did him dirty in the movie series. They did them. They did them right in the cartoon series, but and he has a show coming out. I think this year. So I think that's one of my favorites because I was 9 years old when that movie came out, and I had watched the first three. Before they called them episodes. Basically, it was A New Hope, Empire Strikes
Yeah,
Back,
yeah.
and Return of the Jedi. But I had them on VHS, watched them, and then when
Oh man.
1999 came around, Phantom Menace, I went there and watched it, and it was just mesmerized. As much it might not be a lot of people's favorites, you know, Duel of the Fates is one of my favorite creations by John Williams, and I can listen to that song, just close my eyes, and just be taken to a galaxy far, far away, and I love it. And so yeah, I'd have to say that one, but I love them all equally. Beside the new three, as much as
Yeah.
I have some love for it, I can feel why people the older people that watched the original three hated the prequels, episode 1, 2, and 3 instead of 4, 5, and 6. But maybe one day I'll come to love them as I love all of the 6 movies. But I do love The Mandalorian and all that stuff, so I can't
Oh yeah.
wait for that movie to come out this year. It comes out in May, so I'm
I'm so
excited.
excited.
That's cool. Are you a Star Trek fan as well? Or are you one or the other?
Um, yeah, I'm not. I want to say I'm a Trekkie. Like definitely a Star Wars guy. But yeah, I've always been interested in Star Trek. One of my favorite movies was I always thought The Next Generation with Picard was the best. I love Patrick
Yes.
Stewart, but I saw
Man after my own heart.
the movie with him with the Borg in it, and
Yes.
that will always impact me. But I have to catch up on a lot of it. Like I heard Starfleet Academy is good. I heard Picard. I watched the first season of Picard, didn't continue, but yeah, I'm a Star Trek guy. Just I think that I'm more of a Star Wars guy, as you can tell in the
Yeah.
back.
I'm
Yeah.
kind of a
James,
mix of both, but I had to ask.
I actually got you a Darth Maul. Have you seen those Funko soda pops that have like the figurines inside of them that they're no
No.
longer? Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm not going to show you until I come and see you where you come out here. But they're sodas that have figurines inside of them, and I got you one specifically with Darth Maul.
Oh, that's
So
awesome. That's
yeah,
awesome. I love it.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. I've got some crazy Funko Pops. In fact, I just got one with Boba Fett a couple days ago. So yeah.
If you're a fan of the OG Star Trek, there's one movie that I could recommend if you haven't seen it. It's called The Search for Spock. It's
Oh,
very
I've seen it.
underrated. Oh,
Yeah.
dude. I rewatched that not too long ago and I was like, this movie is fucking amazing. Like,
Good.
why have I slept on this
Yeah.
for so long?
I love Leonard Nimoy.
Yeah.
He had his own paranormal show too, called In Search of.
That's right. That's right. That was a great show.
I love Leonard Nimoy. Yeah, he's the man, the myth, legend.
That's right. That's right. Sorry, I didn't mean to take a step back on stuff, but I just had to ask. I saw the poster. I was like, oh man, he
No,
gets me.
hey, I wish more people talked about Star Wars because that's also good versus evil. He took a lot of
Yeah,
it from Buddhist beliefs, also
totally.
Christianity and all that stuff. A lot of like science fiction lore that's entwined with real day life.
I talk about the Yoda when he talks about the force is in everything. It's
Yeah,
in the trees, in the rocks. I,
yeah,
I use that analogy in my first book. You know what I mean? Just because like that's the same thing as like energy and psychic work and all this other stuff. It's everywhere. It's in everything. It's just like the force. And so like I'm nerding out here, but
Hey, no, it's so true. Like I think the Eastern traditions are more in line with the tree trunk of religion, which was the first religion was called animism, and has a lot of flourishing in Native American tribes, Eastern traditions. But the idea of everything living is that's what a lot of early civilization believed, and a lot of still cultures to this day still believe. So no, yeah, Yoda is the man.
for sure.
Yeah.
One last
I love
subject on
Star
Star Wars.
Wars.
Who shot first, Han or Greedo?
Han, of course.
That's 2 for 2 now. I'm going to keep going with this. Every Star Wars fan that's on the show, I'm asking that question. I got 2 for 2. James Cotter also said Han.
Mm-hmm.
Han's a badass. He would never let somebody shoot first. He'd shoot
Hell
first.
no. Yeah, he's like, "Psst, you kidding me?" Yeah. That's awesome.
So you have a podcast show that's going to be starting soon. Can you tell us a little bit about that as well?
Yeah. So, Victoria J, the demon folklorist, she has a master's in folklore, and joins on the avenue of looking into folklore with a demon the demon topic. And so, I've been following her work for the past couple of years. She has a book out. I can't remember the name, so I'm not going to butcher it. But I was interested, and I thought she brought something different. And I always respect somebody that has academia, and so I reached out, and we just hit it off and became very close friends. And we talked about doing a podcast together where it wouldn't be traditional in the sense of like a weekly thing, but a monthly thing where each um, episode's a topic in the realm of demonology or demonic folklore. And so, it's called the Nine Gates podcast, which is a play off of the Nine Circles, which is Dante Alighieri, and famously known book or poem series. And so each month we're going to have a 2 to 3 hour episode. We're going to talk about a topic of demonology. The first topic is, of course, has to be introduction to demonology, and our special guest for that episode is John Zaffis. And each episode or topic won't necessarily always have a guest, but we will try to filter them in here or there in respect to a topic. But we also do believe, and this is outside of an ego thing, that Victoria and I have a lot to say. We're also disagree on a lot of things, so there will also be debate, conversation, discussion. So I think people would be fascinated just watching us go back and forth about specific topics as well. So yeah, it comes out 6/6/26. We had to. So I'm looking forward to that in June. It's the day before my birthday, so it'll be a great birthday present if it goes very well. If it doesn't, I'll cry miserably and then have a good drink the next day. But I'm pretty sure it will, and I am excited to kind of take a deep dive down the rabbit hole of demonology and demonic folklore, and it be accessible and free to everybody to learn.
Awesome. Han Solo, Han Solo, hands down. Anyway, back to you.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, Victoria J, Nancy. Victoria J, Jaye is her last name, if you're interested in looking her up.
That's awesome. And we'll make sure to share the information to us so we can show support and get your podcast show out to our viewers as well. We would really like to do that. But yeah, Chris, do you have any other questions? I have a million always. Oh, wait,
Absolutely.
really
Go ahead.
quickly, what is one of your favorite paranormal locations that you've investigated and why?
Hmm.
In America, Waverly Hills Sanatorium.
Oh, nice.
The reason I would say that is I've had more success at USS Salem. I would say that would be my top one. But as cool it is as to investigate on a battleship, and Don D. Cristofaro is one of my good friends and amazing dude and great crew that runs that ship. But I'd say I have to say Waverly Hills because just the idea of the tuberculosis. I can't even fucking speak tonight. But TB outbreak, and it's of how many people died there, the death tunnel, the idea of how I think still is, maybe I haven't been there in many years since the new owners and the redevelopment of it, but it was also outside to the element. So not only were you able to be inside, but you will also be able to be outside. So it helped investigators get better without understanding the outside interference in recordings. But it was just also such a massive place where you could easily get lost in the dark of night. And just driving up to it, you go up this little long driveway, and then you kind of see this thing appear. It's pretty epic. But for that's the United States. If I had to say all time, though, um, would have to be Corvin's Castle in Romania. Um, it what a breathtaking castle, and so to say that we actually slept at a hotel on the hill over it and could oversee it. It was so cool, the historical value of it with Vlad the Impaler, and we did get some things that night as well. And I just think the beauty of it was probably the craziest location I've ever investigated in my life. But but once again, of course, those are just based on my opinion. But like I said, there are places that have gotten better evidence, and that I would love to go back to in the foreseeable future.
I loved the view from the hotel that we were at. Like, that was insane. Like, you could just open up the window and you'd see like each of our bedroom windows, and we would see the castle. So
It was, yeah, that was a spiritual journey for sure. That trip.
So for those of you that don't know, James and I went with a group to Romania and did paranormal investigating, learned a lot about the historical factors of the different places throughout Romania, and it was insane and wonderful and all of the things above.
Sure was.
Yeah.
Well, I got one more question for you. You get a lot of people, and most all of us generally investigate at night. Now, why do you believe that is significant? And do you think it's necessary?
I don't think so. I think that, to be honest with you, most people don't know what chronobiology is, but we all have a circadian rhythm. So most people are on an average schedule of waking up in the morning, going to bed at a certain time at night. And I think that what our body automatically does is it releases melatonin at a certain time to comfort us and make us rest, have restful, to go to sleep and kind of lay down. And so that our circadian rhythm is averaged based upon our daily life. It can it can be changed, but I think that um, people have this idea of being spooked in the night, but I also think that it is maybe probable in the sense of being relaxed to maybe have more experiences as well. Because think about most mediums or monks, or religious people. They meditate, right? They pray to kind of enter that channel like state, or if they're channeling, of course, they go into meditative state to channel. So I think that we comfort ourselves at that time. So not only is it spooky at night, but I think there's also maybe that ability for us to be more attentive to what's there. But at the same time, like if I take somebody that works at night and sleeps during the morning, maybe they'll have different experiences, or go to bed in the morning, and maybe they'll have different experiences when their melatonin kicks in. But I think you can investigate throughout the entire day. Like when I do my cases, especially when it comes to residential cases, I do them during the day. As I don't want to fight the night, putting the lights on, doing all this. There's a lot extras to it. So I try to do it during the day, early evening. But yeah, I think why we do it in a public setting or private setting with a bunch of friends is because it's spooky. It really is. And plus, most likely we're working during the day or have something to do during the day as well. So it's easier at night to do it.
Fair enough.
So if you could meet one person in history, who would it be?
Say that again. I was looking at Michael's post. He's being
Yeah, these comments are killing me, dude. Oh my
Yeah, I
god.
know. I'm trying to put it together because it's so funny.
I'm waiting for Mike to have me on his show. A shameless plug right there. What's wrong with you, Mike? Just kidding.
What I was going to ask is, If you can meet one person in history and pick their brain a little bit, who would it be and why?
Holy smokes. It would have been pretty cool to meet Jesus, but let's throw that out the because I think that would take the mystique away. Oh, gosh, one person in history. Why is that such a hard question? It really is. Actually, I will say, I would, if I had to meet one person who's an OG paranormal investigator, um, I would have loved to meet Charles Dickens.
No shit. Nice.
That
Yeah,
makes sense.
the OG right there.
That makes sense.
Yeah, no, a lot of people don't know he was part of the Ghost Club. In late 1800s, they did a lot of stuff over there. They were in simulation to Charles Babbage, which was the father of computers. They had a lot of brilliant minds and different techniques in that club. And then you also have the organization of psychical research over there, which I believe Arthur Conan Doyle was a part of, and other esteemed guests over in the UK. But yeah, definitely, probably Charles Dickens.
That's a
That's a cool
great
answer.
choice.
That was a very cool answer.
Now, Chris, did you have a question?
I suppose, I'm always curious about this too, as far as investigators go. Like, we all go into this with a very open mind and everything like that, but you ever come across a situation that just dropped your jaw and you were like, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened in front of my eyes. You know what I mean? And what was it? If it did happen, what was it?
Yeah, so I've had oh shit moments, I like to say, in my time of doing this. I think one of them, and I talk about it frequently, so I'll keep it short and then I'll jump to another one. But frequently, I talk about the very first demonic case, because even though I was involved in ministry work and studying demonology, I truly never had came across one until that point. So it was like, the things that happened in that case, like disformant of the face, um, and the eyes going black, and other aspects of that case that happened, seeing that was like, holy shoot. And it's like, you have to digest that for a second. And that was pretty gnarly. Another one would I'd have to be is this case that I don't know if it was infestation or something else. To be quite honest with you, but we were able to say prayers and relieve them of their episode or their paranormal haunting. But was it's one of the first few times I've ever seen, like, I've seen a bunch of scratches in person, on in on video, or on pictures, photography. And so we're sitting down with this client in Western Massachusetts, if not in the line of New York. And I have my medium with me. I have my buddy at the time, Tom, who worked for me, and then might have been one more person if I remember correctly. But I'm doing the interview, writing down, so I'm looking up and down at his eyes, and recording what he's saying. And my guy, Tom, was looking at the guy to see, like, I told him to watch him and observe the surroundings, observe him, see if there's like anything that happens while I'm doing this, or while Mandy's doing her mediumship ability readings. And all of a sudden he like nudges me and says, James, James, and he points at his leg, and all of a sudden you start seeing these scratches on his leg appear, from like the ankle, and he's wearing shorts, so we could see it from the ankle almost up to the knee. And it was like that was manifesting right there, right then. And it was like it wasn't an after thing. It was like I saw it happening. And I was like, that was startling, because it's like a lot of these cases you don't see too much, right? You
Right.
maybe feel the environment, maybe it's sickly and oppressive, and but you might have like an item move, or like people's personalities changes. But to see a manifestation of, like, of a scratch happening was pretty wild in the sense. I'll give a funny one. I was doing this case in I think it was East Providence or Providence, Rhode Island, with the group I worked with at that time called Nightbreed Paranormal, Joe Andrade and Paul Davis. And when I try to do a blessing of a house, I try to get everywhere, the basement, the attic, and in this case I had to be lifted up into the attic by Paul, he's a big dude, and I'm not deathly afraid of spiders, but I definitely would punch a spider in the face and
Same.
and then run. But I was up in this attic, and you know I see like these little two, like, it was so pitch black, but I see these little two, like, like reflections, like tiny. And all of a sudden I like see it coming closer, and I just like startled because it was like, it's a spider. It likely was a spider. And I was like, oh my God. Fell right back through the attic access way, landing on the floor. Like I'm like, and I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. They're like, what did you see? Is there something up there? I was like, there's a spider. They're all like, oh my God, you almost died for a spider. They thought it was like a demon or something up there attacking me.
Oh my God. So I am also deathly afraid of spiders. And I'll tell you a funny story about my funny spider story. I was working for this assisted living home, and it was generally people that were like 70 and above, And I went into the day room, and there was these three older ladies. They were probably, mid to late 80s, and I'm 6'2", so I'm a big guy, and so they're like, oh, there's a spider on the wall. Like, can you kill it for us? So I like very hesitantly grabbed this paper towel, and I'm like inching my way towards them, like, like freaking out. And they're like, are you going to be a little bitch? Or are you going to kill that thing? Like these tiny little old ladies. I was like, I'll probably just be a little bitch if I can help it,
Yeah,
Like,
right.
if I don't have to kill it, I'll take the name. I don't care. Like,
like I'll definitely expunge some spiders, but if I don't have to, like,
right?
I'm totally good. Like I'll throw a shoe at it or something like that. Stay in my,
For
but
real.
I have faced my fears quite a few times and battled spiders.
Oh, chuck a
I
grenade.
don't like spiders. They scare me.
I'm not a fan. I don't care how big or small. It does not matter. I'm like, no, flat out no. Don't like them.
No.
Yeah.
I held a spider once, a tarantula once, because I was
Oh,
trying to overcome my fear, and I did it because I was that freaking determined to get over my fear of it. Did I get over my fear of spiders? Hell no. However, I did hold this spider, and
oh
it
God.
was actually kind of
In
cute.
Augusta,
But
right?
ooh,
Was that in
no,
Augusta?
this was when I was in when I lived in Utah.
Oh, okay.
So
There was a tarantula going around the Augusta Paracon. That's why I asked.
that's the only time I've ever held a spider, and it's because I trusted the person that was having me hold that spider. And they wanted to do a photo with me in an outfit that I was wearing for a photo shoot holding the spider. And I was just sitting there, God, please just help me to get through this. And I got through it. It was fine. But
Yeah, nope.
no, spiders scare me.
I would make sounds a grown man shouldn't make. Just that's where it ends. Can't do it. Will not do it. I actually tried to kill a spider once, smacked it with a shoe, and then it crawled towards me, and like I screamed like 12 octaves up. It was not good. It was not a good look.
Oh, man. So, James, if people want to get a hold of you, how can they get a hold of you?
Yellow pages.
Those
But
still exist?
yeah, no. You can find me on Facebook, my only social media platform, at James Annitto, which is, of course. Oh wait, I always do that. It's this way right here, and Annitto. But it also could be spun into jamesannitto.com or demonology.org, which has links to all my platforms, mainly Facebook, and then of course YouTube for the podcast. And it also has links to one of my books. I got to update the other link for the pre-order of the Kindle version, which is up now. You can go to amazon.com, search James Annitto or the History of Demonology, and pre-order it on Kindle if you want wait for the physical. Like I said, April 3rd. But yeah, those are the ways people can get in touch with me, find me, and be annoyed by me.
I just want to put it out there that James is pretty awesome. I've known James now for a few years, and I still remember the first time I actually met you in Wickenburg, Arizona, when we were doing investigations and things happened in the church space. But even outside of that, I've been lucky enough to get to know you a little bit more, and Celine, and I, you're awesome. That's all.
I appreciate it. Yeah, you've been to my house a couple of times, I believe now, or
Yeah,
maybe once or twice. I forget how many
twice.
times. But you've been awesome. I'm glad to see you in your new journey and your health journey. And no, I appreciate the kind words.
Yep.
Chris, I love you too.
Right back at you, buddy.
Oh,
It's been awesome
man.
picking your brain and getting to know you a little bit better. And I, it's just like I said, I'm glad you're doing your thing and you're making a difference and you're trying to help people just with your knowledge and your support systems and everything you got going for you, man. I'm super happy for you.
I appreciate it, Chris. Nice
Absolutely.
questions.
All right,
Yeah,
Gwen,
sorry
would you
to
like to
load on
join
some
us?
loaded ones for you. I had to make you work.
No, you're good, man. I love it.
Here
Good
comes
show,
Gwen.
guys. Good show.
Yes, she is. Yep.
Yay.
Yes, Mike. You are comic relief for any show you're on or messaging on. So just had to put that out there.
Oh yeah,
He's
these
so
comments were. I'm trying to like pay attention, but I'm sitting there like trying not to laugh as well. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
fuck.
Me too.
Yep.
Like I don't want to sound rude. These comments were killing me. You guys are great. I love everybody chiming in. Everybody
I
in the
do
comments,
too.
you guys are rock stars. I love you all.
It makes it fun. So yeah, great show. You guys just close it out, and I will drop James in the back in case you guys want to talk to him. And hey, Christy, yeah, and me and James will drop in the back, and you guys finish it up.
Sounds
All
good.
right.
Well.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great
That's
episode.
James. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I always enjoy hanging out with him. So
I seriously, I think that was the most I have actually talked to him since probably 2016, maybe. Like I said, the last time I
really?
saw him, I believe, and he can correct me if I'm wrong, and if I am wrong, I'm sorry, but I think it was at a Parafest many moons ago in Vassalboro, Maine. But yeah, it was great talking to James. Always a fascinating guy, very knowledgeable, and he's just a cool dude all around.
I text him and bug him like I bug you. So
Nice.
I'm pretty sure that you'll probably come back into contact with him pretty soon because of a certain event that's coming up. So yeah, that'll be cool.
Yeah, I'd be very grateful and honored.
Yeah. All right, y'all. So next week we have James Stokes, who plays Freddy Krueger, and we're
Jason.
really excited. Thank you, Jason.
That's okay.
He's awesome. Please don't kill me, James, for saying it wrong. But he's great. And then we have a lot of other amazing guests. One guest that's coming up, really excited about, but we're gonna wait till next week to announce that one. So yeah.
You guys will have to sweat it out.
Yeah. Anyway, with that being said, have a great night, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. See you next week, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Bye.
Peace out, guys.